Juan Gonzalez is on his way to becoming a hero of baseball. So far in June, he slugged 10 home runs, tying the team record for most round-trippers in a month. At age 22, fans will enjoy many more years of wonderful Juan. Tonight, he leads the Rangers against the Red Sox. As Kevin Brown tries for win number 10, next on HSE. From Arlington Stadium, Home Sports Entertainment presents Texas Rangers Baseball. This exclusive presentation is brought to you by Bud Light. Everything else is just a light. By Sherwin-Williams. There's only one paint this good, and there's only one place where you can get it. The pros know. Ask Sherwin-Williams. By High Performance Citgo Gasoline, available at your participating neighborhood 7-Eleven. Oh, thank heaven for 7-Eleven. By Advil for headaches, muscle aches, fever, backache. Advil, advanced medicine for pain. And by Southwest Airlines, offering everyday low fares and convenient flights to many exciting destinations. Southwest Airlines, just plain smart. From Arlington Stadium, it's Texas Rangers baseball. Tonight, the second game of the series between the Boston Red Sox and the Texas Rangers. And a very pleasant good evening, everyone. Greg Lucas here along with Norm Hitzges. The Rangers won the opening game of this series last night 4-1. A couple of home runs did the story. The Rangers coming in off a rough road trip, though. One of the people who hit a home run last night, though, was Juan Gonzalez, Norm, and he has been hot.
Juan Gonzalez has been red hot. 10 homers in the month of June, ties the all-time club record for homers in a month. But he's about the only player in this club right now who is hot. Offensively, the Rangers are really struggling. The road trip really underscored how much they missed the bats of Franco and then the hurt Sierra and the long-range hurt Rodriguez. This club has scored 1 or less runs in 6 of their last 12 games. Greg, I can't imagine that we'd ever sit here talking about a Ranger team in that kind of a run slump.
Well, how about a Red Sox team, too? Because that's been the trademark with both clubs, offense, and it hasn't been there.
If the Rangers are struggling offensively, the Red Sox are dying offensively. How can a team with Wade Boggs, Tom Brunensky, Jack Clark, Mike Greenwell, Ellis Burks be without question, the worst offensive team in the big leagues? That's what they are now. No power, no speed, no runs.
Well, Ranger fans hope it continues tonight. They're going to be sending their 9-game winner, Kevin Brown, to the mound.
9's been a bad number for a lot of pitchers in the Major Leagues. A lot of guys have gotten a 9 and stopped. But Kevin Brown's got a good shot tonight. He's throwing the ball well. He's been as consistent as you could ask a pitcher to be on this staff. And if he's right, infielders ought to gobble up a lot of them tonight.
John Dopson going for Boston. He's been a reclamation project, and he's having a fine year.
You know, last year at this time, we were talking about the almost tearful story of Jose Guzman's return to the Major Leagues. And Boston's Jose Guzman is John Dopson. Operated on in August of 1990, almost 2 years without a win. He's pitching well now, but he doesn't go very far. The stamina is still not there.
Stay with us. We'll have the lineups, the first pitch, and all the action as our big evening of baseball continues from Arlington Stadium in just a moment. This is Arlington Stadium, and this is Texas Rangers baseball. The Rangers and the Boston Red Sox. The Red Sox with Reed at second base, Rivera at short, Boggs at third base, Clark the DH, Greenwell in left field, Burks in center, Brunansky in right, Cooper at first, and Flaherty is the catcher. Defensively for Texas, Reimer, Gonzalez, and Cangelosi in the outfield, Palmer, Houston, Newman, and Palmero on the infield, with Petrali catching Kevin Brown.
27-year-old Kevin Brown in his 15th starts trying to win his 10th game this season. No Ranger pitcher has ever won 10 games this early in the season if he accomplishes it tonight. Good sinking fastball and a slider, but the big difference in Kevin Brown this year, composure under pressure.
And his first pitch to Jody Reed is for a ball. Jody hitting .284 with a homer and 16 runs batted in. This will be Brown's second attempt at victory number 10.
By the way, get a good look at that nice .284 average for Jody Reed. You won't see many like that on the Red Sox tonight.
No, that's high for them. That's a foul ball. They've had an amazingly tough season. Luis Rivera hitting .261, which is also pretty good for the Red Sox.
Yeah, but when's the last time Luis Rivera and Wade Boggs were 9 points apart in batting averages?
Boggs is third, and he's only a .270 hitter. 1 ball and a strike. Rangers won the opening game of the series last night 4-1. Home run power did it. That's a foul ball. Palmeiro hit a big home run, and Gonzalez hit a line drive.
If Kevin Brown has a problem, it's the problem that almost all sinker ball pitchers have. That is, when they're very strong early in the game, their ball doesn't sink quite as much. And the statistics of Kevin Brown show it. In the first inning this year, opponents are hitting .321 against him, but only .256 for the season, so he settles down quickly if he gets through the first.
Pitch is up. It is 2 balls and 2 strikes to Jody Reed. Reed, of course, broke in with this club as a shortstop. They moved him over to second base. Drafted once by Texas, actually twice by Texas, and once by San Francisco. Reed was highly regarded. There's a fly ball to deep left field. Reimer, in his tracks, makes the catch for the first out. As Rivera gets set to come up, let's take a look at our Major League Baseball notes, brought to you by Bira Paredes. We always treat you like the home team, and of course one of them has to do with now the winningest pitcher in Seattle.
Somebody finally got the 10 wins, and it was, of all people, rookie Dave Fleming who did it to Minnesota last night, beating him 1-0. And Robin Yount continues to climb the career hit ladder. He's now 56 short of 3,000, and he moved to 20th in the all-time list, and he's got some years left.
Fleming also has an interesting statistic: 11 major league wins, and he's beaten nobody twice. Isn't that something?
Maybe he'll stop at 13 for his career.
Yeah. Here's a pitch to Rivera for a strike. Luis hitting .261 with no homers and 14 runs batted in. The high fastball hitter, which could be bad for him. When Kevin's on, there aren't going to be too many high fastballs. Chopper on the ground, you're going to get a lot of those. Houston at shortstop.
Kevin Brown is the pitcher in the American League, in fact in the major leagues, least likely to yield a home run. He's thrown 105 innings this year and surrendered just 1 homer, and that was to Sam Horn. Now, are the Red Sox going to hit a homer off him? Well, probably not, since they've hit the least homers of any team in the big leagues. We may not see one drift into the cheaper seats tonight when Boston's up, Mr. Lucas.
They have had a tough season, and this guy is having part of it. Wade Boggs hitting .270 with 5 homers and 22 RBIs. He's 3 for his last 6, but that's not much. .291 over a longer stretch, and while that isn't bad, that's not Boggsian. He had inflammation of a nerve in the right elbow and missed some games at the end of May. But he is not hitting like Wade Boggs.
No, he's hitting like a regular human being.
Yeah, 2 balls and a strike. Actually, he had a couple hits last night that looked like Wade Boggs, going to left field down the line with one of them. But he has not been consistent. Houston at shortstop. 1, 2, 3 in the first. We'll take a look at the Ranger batting order and the defensive alignment for the Red Sox when we return in just a moment. Texas Rangers coming up in the bottom of the first inning, and here's the lineup that they will send. Downing, the designated hitter, with Palmer at third base, Palmeiro at first, Gonzalez in center, Reimer in left, Petrale catching, Houston at short, Newman at second, Angelosi in right. Defensing them will be Greenwell, Burks, and Brunansky in the outfield, with Boggs, Rivera, Reed, and Cooper on the infield. Flaherty catching John Dopson.
John Dopson, soon to turn 29, is one of this year's true stories of perseverance and pluck. Late in the 1989 season, he'd won a dozen games for the Boston Red Sox, but the elbow started to go. It finally blew out in 1990 after he'd pitched only 4 games. And then John Dobson's long, strange trek through rehab kept him out all of last year, got hammered in spring training, started this season at rehab at Pawtucket, has made 6 starts, and by golly, Greg, it looks like the old sinker-slider combination is back. His last couple of starts have been terrific, and when he's right, he's a good pitcher.
Bill Plantier, the announcement just made as Downing steps in, had been penciled in to start in right field, but he was scratched for Brunansky due to a sore right knee. We know all about sore knees. There's a pitch outside. That's one reason why Franco is still not playing. There's Brunansky in right. Downing hitting .270 with 4 homers and 10 runs batted in. Franco still nursing the sore knee. Sierra with the hamstring out of the lineup. So the Ranger lineup Doesn't look as scary as it has, although this very lineup won last night. 2 balls and no strikes.
You know, you could make a heck of a team of the people not playing tonight because of injuries. Tony Peña's not catching because he's got the flu. There's the American League batting champion, Julio Franco. Plantier's out of this one. Sierra, Doherty, Rodriguez.
Now Downing does just what a good leadoff man is supposed to do. Get on base. Dale Ford, the home plate umpire, said that is ball 4, and Al Clark is at first, Larry Barnett at second, Greg Kosk is at third. Downing actually with the top batting average on the Rangers here at Arlington Stadium, 313, and now Palmer with a 239, 11 homers and 36 RBI.
And that walk in extremely limited playing time gives Downing the club lead with 33, tying him with Palmeiro. Palmeiro's batted about, in fact, Palmeiro must have batted more than double the number of times Downing did.
Yeah, that's good news for Downing. It's not necessarily good news for the Rangers, and perhaps in part explains why they're not hitting that well. They are swinging at bad pitches, getting themselves out. 1 ball and no strikes. And that's way up.
Greg, I'm impressed. You can announce and refill your lead pencil at the same time.
I can try to refill my lead pencil at the same time. I'm not succeeding very well here. I got a mechanical breakdown here. I don't know if I want to give it to Lee Friday. No, I think I'll keep it here and work on it between innings. No, I may never see it again.
Right now, John Dobson's got some work to do during this inning.
Yeah, he's got a 2 ball no strike pitch after walking the leadoff man on 4 straight. Finally gets one into Palmer.
Oh yeah, how unusual is a wild streak for John Dopson? In his 6 starts this year, he's never walked more than 2 men in a game, much less an inning.
A big broad-shouldered right-hander. Possibly sensing a hit and run. Certainly not a straight steal, although Downing has 1 steal and 1 attempt. Foul back. Nice crowd tonight. We've got some folks all around the ballpark, including those center field seats above the Peters shaded area. They've opened up part of that. They're still coming in. They missed the preliminary game. Hope you got to see the heroes of baseball. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Al Oliver and Jim Sundberg, former Rangers, had a couple of big hits. Boggs, Reed, not in time to Cooper.
Whoa, that tough call at first base for Al Clark. A very, very close play. The Red Sox almost turned 2 on a ball. It didn't look like they had any chance, but Boggs gives the second baseman a dart of a throw. And the runner at first was maybe out.
Also, you saw the top of that screen, that little kick that Downing gave Reed trying to make the pivot.
No, Brian wouldn't do something like that.
Here's Palmeiro hitting .260 with 7 homers, 33 RBIs. One of those home runs coming last night.
By the way, if these 2 pitchers have their stuff tonight, you're going to notice that John Dopson looks like Kevin Brown and Kevin Brown looks like John Dopson. They throw exactly the same assortment of pitches. Sinking fastball and a slider, and when each is on, you get a lot of ground balls chopped.
Palmeiro takes that one for a strike. No balls and a strike. Raffy hitting just .210 over the last 27 games, and with his home run last night snapped a 31-game homerless streak. And when you consider he has 7, that shows just how dry he was. And that one he takes for a ball. 1 ball and a strike. Yeah, you get his bat going. It's especially important now with Sierra sidelined for a while and Franco still not back on a regular basis.
And Pudge down.
And Rodriguez, there's another bat.
Remember the year of the balk, 1988, when they enforced the balk rule? John Dopson pitching that year had 1 balk. The next year, everybody screams, so they didn't call balks. He was called for 15 the next year when they stopped enforcing.
Here goes the runner at first. Swing through. Throw by Flaherty way offline. An easy steal by Palmer. His 4th of the year. Flaherty, the catcher, the book on him is that he's not a bad defensive catcher. He's never proven to be a great hitter, although he didn't look like much of a thrower on that one.
You know, the Rangers really don't have any high stolen base totals per individual, but a lot of guys are chipping in 4 and 5 and 6 on this team.
Yeah, there's one of them. I mean, Palmer with 4. You know, he could finish in double figures. 1 ball and 2 strikes for the right side. Cooper at first. Dopson covers. Moving over to third base is Palmer now with 2 outs.
Palmeiro is just one of a number of Ranger hitters who are very cold. Take a look at these slumps and look at some of the major names. We're talking guys that should be carrying this club. Palmeiro, Palmer, Franco, Thon. Horrible, horrible long-term slumps for a lot of them. In fact, we're looking at tonight's lineup.
Just about. Just really, Franco and Thon, the only 2 that aren't in it. Well, here's a guy that has not been in a slump. Juan Gonzalez, 10 home runs in the month. And remember, this is only the 20th. And that already has tied the all-time Ranger record. He hit one last night, and it got out of here like a shot. Line drive.
You know, he'd have had 11. He had one taken away the other night in California by Junior Felix, or he'd have had 11 this month.
Yeah, Felix jumped over the wall and took it away. Rangers were trading 3-0. That would have made it 3-2 in the 9th. Pitch gets away, but not far enough. Gonzalez hitting .342 with 8 homers and 14 runs batted in the last 10 games. That is the man that's been carrying the team. Dean Palmer down at third base, trying to get in with a run. Gonzalez is 3rd in the league in homers, behind Mark McGwire, who has slowed down, and Rob Deere, who has started to speed up.
You know, some guys are having big years in this league. We may have, Greg Lucas, 8-10 guys hit 30 this year.
Yep, don't slow down. They certainly are off to a good pace. Here's the 2-0 pitch. Speed just got him enough. Off speed. 2 balls and a strike.
If you're wondering about baseball's all-time record for homers in a month, 4 men have hit 15 in a month. Babe Ruth, Bob Johnson, Roger Maris, and Pedro Guerrero.
I think that's only June. I'm thinking that Babe hit 17 in September, the year he hit 60, but I think that's only the June record.
Yeah, the record is 15. Yeah, 15 for June.
2 balls and 2 strikes. This game began at 8:05 tonight because of the Upper Deck Heroes of Baseball preliminary game. So those of you just joining us, it's the bottom of the first.
Not that it's unusual for the Rangers to be in the bottom of the first at 8:20 some nights.
No, but it is 0-0. There's 2 outs. And now there are 3 outs. Gonzalez fans, the Rangers leave a runner at third, so the walk gets as far as third as a result of ensuing plays. No score after 1 on HSE.
I now turn to page 65.
Today's Rangers game is being brought to you by High Performance Citgo Gasoline. Available at your participating neighborhood 7-Eleven. Oh, thank heaven for 7-Eleven.
Second inning beginning with Jack Clark leading off for Boston, hitting out of the cleanup spot. Though he isn't. Hitting only .212.
There's a misnomer on this club, cleanup.
Yeah, .212 with 3 homers and 22 runs batted in. Clark. Just so much unlike the Red Sox, and yet that's fouled. They can always look to the bright side. They can say, well, this team's going to hit better than it is. And, you know, we're a game over 500.
Isn't it funny how the Red Sox and the Rangers are telling themselves the same things these days? Hey, our pitching's a lot better than we thought, and these guys have got to wake up sooner or later as hitters, because Franco, Palmeiro, Petrali, Reimer, Thon, Clark, Boggs, Brunansky are major league hitters, and very, very good ones.
That's what they're saying, and the pitch is a strike, and it's 1-2.
You know, Greg, I was talking to the Boston announcers before the game, and I said, who'd have ever thought we'd have a Boston Red Sox and Texas Rangers series and be thinking the first 1 to 2 runs wins?
Well, the way it's been going, that's very possible. Both teams have been getting good pitching. 2 balls and 2 strikes, particularly from the starters in the Rangers case.
And from everybody in Boston's case, with the best team earned run average in the major leagues.
Clark rips it hard. That'll get past Houston, who was way over in the hole, playing him to pull, and it's a base hit. But it is also the 3rd consecutive ball hit on the ground, so Brown's sinker is sinking. That one just hit a little too hard and a little bit in the wrong direction.
Number 39, left fielder Mike Greenwell.
Clark at first base. Al Bumbry, who got a little action in the Heroes of Baseball game, the coach, and Mike Greenwell will be the hitter. Here's another guy that hasn't gotten it going at all. 233 with 2 homers, 18 RBIs. He's playing with an injured elbow. No power to speak of, as you can see.
Greenwell's elbow needs surgery.
Clark runs. Palmeiro makes the play. Now, folks, that may not be one of the great 2-word sentences of all time, but it's very unusual.
One of the shocking 2-word sentences of all time.
It was a hit and run, and it gets him in scoring position, maybe.
But new Boston Red Sox manager Butch Hobson is desperately trying to figure out somehow to get this club's offense kick-started. He's given up on the thought he can sit back and simply let this club hit their way out of it. Now he's trying all sorts of gimmick plays. The other night, a steal of home.
Yeah. You got to do it. When it isn't working the other way. Here's Burks, Ellis Burks, the leading home run hitter on the team with 8. 259 average, 30 RBIs.
And the leading base stealer with 5.
He's been sidelined with an inflamed right knee. In fact, didn't start last night due to that. And has been in and out a number of games recently because of that knee. No balls and a strike.
Burks always enjoys coming back here to play. In fact, coming into the season, Burks had some big games in the stadium.
Yeah, he's from Fort Worth, and in fact, there you go. In Ranger, Texas.
Ranger
that's
Junior
where he
College.
actually, yeah, junior college, Ranger Junior College. That was Ellis Burks.
Little town of Everman, outside of Fort Worth.
No balls, 2 strikes, and got him. That's the first strikeout for Kevin Brown and the 2nd out of the inning.
Last year, Brown's walk to strikeout ratio was terrible. It was about 1-to-1, and that's terrible. This year, it's pretty well over 2-to-1, and that's been a big difference for Brownie this year, Greg.
Not only that, he's already struck out about 2/3 as many as he did all season last year with 67. And he throws a pretty good one to Tom Brunansky. Brunansky hitting 276 with 2 homers and 15 RBIs. Again, the 276 isn't bad, but what happened to the power from this big guy?
Well, it's almost inconceivable to say a Boston Red Sox team with good power hitters playing in Fenway is last in the American League in home runs, last in the major leagues in home runs.
Foul ball. Brunansky in the last 10 games hitting 333, but no homers. Yeah. He's been out of the lineup in right field a number of games, and as we said, wouldn't have been in tonight.
Well, Butch Hobson has some horrible stats he's looking at. Lowest in the major leagues in homers. Next to lowest in the major leagues in steals. Only the dinosaur-footed Detroit Tigers have less. They have 1 less stolen base than the Red Sox. And only the Cubs and Dodgers have less extra base hits, and they don't have designated hitters.
No, that's why you got to give the skipper good pluses in his opening year as a manager, because Butch has not had the team he thought he was going to have, and yet he, at least up to this point, he's kept them over 500. They knew they were going to get better with the acquisition of Viola. They hoped that Dopson would be able to come back, but they had no idea the offense would turn south. 1 ball and 2 strikes. And Brunansky goes fishing, and that retires the side. 2 strikeouts in a row for Kevin Brown. We have played 1.5, and the Rangers are coming to bat in the bottom of the 2nd. Rangers coming up in the bottom of the 2nd, looking for their first base hit. And just looking at the crowd right now. Here's Mike Jeffcoat. You were with us. Norm, you had a chance to chat with Danny Wheat about the state of the ailments with the various Rangers.
Yeah, Danny mentioned the word surgery regarding Mike Jeffcoat. And that's the first I'd ever heard that word mentioned. But not yet. They're going to see how the rehab goes and try to get Mike to throw soon.
As Reimer leads it off, Kevin hitting .281 with 6 homers and 31 runs batted in. But he's on that list that we showed you earlier. He's 3 for his last 22. Still tied in the top 5 in doubles in the league, but not going to get one here. This is Reed at second base. And so Reimer turns right and heads to the dugout.
Uh-oh. John Dopson has the kind of stuff that when John Dobson's good, that's what you get to look at. Chop to third, chop to first, chop to second, just like Kevin Brown, who could go a long way in this game without any runs.
Gino Petralli, 172 with a homer and 7 RBIs, doing most of the catching against right-handed pitching while Rodriguez is out. Still hasn't been able to get in the groove offensively as he takes the first pitch up for a ball. He's 0 for his last 7. In the last 21 games, only 145. 2 balls and no strikes.
John Dobson's earned run average is in the lower 3s, but golly, if you remove one terrible start, he's pitched beautifully for this club.
That ball's hit hard toward the gap. It'll drop in for a base hit in front of Burks. It's a base knock for Gino Petralli. So the Rangers have their first hit, each team with a base hit. No runs on the board. And with Petralli at first base, Orlando Gomez with some instruction. Jeff Hewson will be the hitter. Jeff, the left-handed hitting shortstop tonight, comes in at .258 with a homer and 8 runs batted in.
Bottom of the Ranger lineup tonight, absolutely devoid of power. Down there is Petralli with 1 homer, Hewson with 1 homer, Angelosi with 1 homer, and Al Newman with 1 homer in his career. Al's had a little bit of a power shortage the last 5-6 years.
Just a little.
You know, his anniversary's coming up.
From his home run, yeah, that was in July, wasn't it?
Yeah, we got to make a big thing of that. It's early July, and we'll be on the air on the day that we have the anniversary.
Maybe that would be the day for us to talk to him.
Yes.
1 ball and no strikes to Hewson. Jeff had a 6-game hitting streak that was ended last night, but he's hitting .364 over the last 7 games. He takes the ball in, and it's 2 balls and no strikes. Now Dodson has gone 2-0 on 5 of the first 7 batters. He's not the kind of pitcher that can continue to do that.
Especially when you realize his effectiveness drops off dramatically around 75 pitches because he simply doesn't have enough conditioning from all that time off.
There's a strike. 2 balls and 1 strike to Jeff Hewson. Crowd getting into it tonight on this presently 89-degree evening. We'll be back with you tomorrow night. It's a 7 o'clock start, and then Toronto comes in. We will televise the 3rd game of that series. That will be Wednesday. We'll be out in the bleachers for that. So if you're going to come to the ballpark and want to save a little money or something that particular night, we'll just go ahead and buy a bleacher ticket, come out in center field and sit around us, and come out early. We'll just kind of chat on Sports Talk with the fans on hand.
By the way, the pitching matchup Wednesday figures to be Bobby Witt and Todd Stottlemyre in the Toronto, Texas game that we'll be doing.
2 balls and a strike. Could be 2. Reed, Rivera, Cooper, got him.
Another infield chop. Boy, Dobson's got the sinker working.
So it turns out to be a 1-2-3 inning despite the only hit for the Rangers. We've played 2, no runs and a hit for each team. The Red Sox coming up. When we return, it'll be Scott Cooper and John Flaherty leading it off. George W. Bush, getting away from the hard grind of the state Republican convention that's taking place in nearby Dallas. And about 40,000 fans are getting away from it as well here at Arlington Stadium tonight. Scott Cooper hits it foul just a few feet below us. Scott hitting .240 with no homers and 11 RBIs. Now, once again, not to belabor a point, but to belabor it anyway, that's not first baseman type numbers.
Well, he's actually a third baseman, but Boggs has got that clogged up, but it's not first or third baseman numbers.
Yeah, Cooper came up as a third baseman, but Almero goes a long way. Brownie covers, and that is out number one.
Look, first hitter in the game, Jody Reed got the ball in the air, and that's the last time it's been up tonight.
Went a long way for this one, but made the play, and Kevin Brown doing it just as expected. I bring up catcher John Flaherty. Flaherty's starting just his 12th game, but Tony Peña's been having all sorts of troubles. He's been in a deep slump, had some balls banged off of him, things he couldn't catch in the first part of the game last night, so he's getting the night off, and there's a foul tip strike. Flaherty started last June 14th. I should say June 14th. It's a week ago. It's been about a week.
Officially, by the way, Peña has the flu tonight.
Well, normally he would be in there. You're right, even though he hasn't been hitting.
Yeah. But I think you're right. It's probably a lot of things converging for Tony. This is a good spot for Butch Hobson to give him a night off.
Nothing in two. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Flaherty joined this team on April 12th. He was a 25th round pick of the Red Sox. Went to George Washington University. And he is going to go back to the bench. Strikeout number 3 for Kevin Brown. 2 outs here in the third.
Ooh, little respect call.
Well, or lack of same for the young catcher.
9-game winner versus who's this at the plate?
Except in this case, Dale Ford ought to know him. He's been squatting in front of him for 2 innings. There's his strike to Jody Reed. Reed flied out to Reimer, opening the ball game.
Jody's having a nice season. Jody's usually a very, very slow starter. Very slow starter. Got off to a nice start this year. Jody's already had hitting streaks of 11 and 14 games. How many years in a row have they tried to give this guy's job away one time or another, Greg?
Well, he started when he was a shortstop.
Yep.
And they did. They moved him to second.
Mm-hmm.
He's from Tampa, Florida. 5'9", 165-pounder. Count goes 1-2.
On this team packed with offensive players whose names you recognize, Jody Reed's the only guy that shows up in the top 10 of any offensive category in the American League. He's 5th in multiple hit games.
Well, just as we're talking about the positives, he struck out, and that's the 4th strikeout for Kevin Brown. And we have finished 2 1/2 to the bottom of the third. The Rangers coming up with Al Newman, John Cangelosi, and Brian Downing. As we go to the bottom of the third inning, it's Newman, Cangelosi, and Downing. No score in this ball game. John Dopson pitching for the Red Sox and Kevin Brown for the Rangers. Each have allowed just the 1 hit, 2 singles. Al Newman, we'll see what he can do against Mr. Dopson. Al has been a very valuable acquisition with the fact that Franco has never been 100% this year. He's really helped the defense, and Al hitting in the 230 or 40 area can help this team offensively as well, as he tried to get the ball in front of Boggs but fouled it.
Talked to Bobby Valentine this afternoon about Julio Franco, and it was earlier, much earlier before the game started, and he said Julio hadn't arrived at the park yet, and he was waiting to see because he wanted to put him in the lineup if he was well. He isn't in the lineup. And that's disturbing. Julio started a game Wednesday night in the outfield in California. It is now Saturday, and he's not well enough to play still.
And he was thinking last night of starting him in the outfield, and I would presume he might have been planning that tonight.
Yes.
No balls and 2 strikes. Little bleeder, right side foul.
In fact, when we talked, Bobby was going back and forth thinking, well, wait a minute. Do I want to put him in left field or right field? Because Bobby wanted to put Reimer in the game, and he wanted to keep Reimer's bat in the game, and he was trying to think, well, if I play Franco, do I play him in left field, move Reimer to right? No. Do I keep Reimer in left and play Julio in right? And obviously, Julio's just not well enough to play.
No balls and 2 strikes. Burke's in center field. Of course, there's the third option. He could have just said, what the heck, I've already written the lineup down. Major League Baseball this week on HSE. Tomorrow afternoon at 1:30, the Dodgers and Astros meet in the Dome. Then we'll have the finale between the Rangers and Boston at 7. Roger Clemens slated to be on the mound for the Sox. Wednesday night, Norm and I will be in the bleachers getting a sunburn in the early evening hours as the Rangers take on the Toronto Blue Jays. The best of the major leagues right here on HSE.
Yeah, come out and see us Wednesday. By the way, bring a little bit of a tush pillow to us.
Yeah, you need a place, something to sit on out
hard
there.
out there.
It's hot. Enjoyed our group we had with us last year. I laughingly called them the Village People. We had a guy in a construction helmet. We had a guy in well, it wasn't really a Western hat. It looked more like an Australian hat with a flowered Hawaiian shirt.
One very nice lady brought us brownies. The other fellow brought us a well-stocked cooler.
Yeah. Yep. Once the sun falls, as those of you who come to Arlington Stadium know, it's very pleasant here during the baseball season. But around 6 or 5 o'clock, when we're doing a lot of work getting ready for games, it's pretty brutal out there. No balls and 2 strikes. 88, but breezy. John Cangelosi with a 169 batting average is going to add a point or two.
Well, if the Rangers ran with Dean Palmer in the first inning, you might well expect them to do a little zipping with John Cangelosi in the third of a scoreless game.
I would say that would be wise strategy. You got a guy who it really needs to be really, you stop and think about it. Straight steal would be nice here because you got Downing who really knows the strike zone, so you kind of hate to have him swinging at pitches that aren't in the zone on a hit and run.
Tell you what else you've got. You got the right side of the infield wide open, and Bobby Valentine could choose to hit and run and give Downing an enormous gap to shoot at over there.
Well, the first pitch is a strike.
Dopson, really smart, quick pitch Downing. Didn't even check the first baseman. Shoot, boom, popped the strike in there.
Downing walked in the first. Cangelosi has 6 steals in 9 tries, doesn't go. And that's a strike. No balls and 2 strikes. The thing here is you really wanted to get him down there before you had 2 strikes on the hitter.
Boy, nothing takes the running game away from a manager than a pitcher throwing strikes, does it? Takes that option away.
Just in case, the toss to Cangelosi. Now, you might run on the 0-2 for a couple of reasons. One being that if he strikes him out, no big deal. If he doesn't strike him out and he throws him out, Downing starts with a fresh count next time up. There he goes. Pitch to the right side. Reed gets to it, however, and makes the play.
Downing just couldn't get enough on it to muscle it through that gap.
But he gets the runner to second base now. Not happy the fact he couldn't get it through the gap. And Dean Palmer will be the hitter. Just 2 outs in the inning. Palmer hit into a fielder's choice in the first. Boggs, foul ball.
Well, as we've seen a lot of times, Greg, when teams try to hit Kevin Brown, one of the worst things to try to do with a sinker ball pitcher is to pull him. Best way to hit him generally is hit the ball right back at the pitcher or even go the other way.
Well, that can be tough for Dean because Dean is a pull hitter.
Right. Dobson's got a chance to be very hard on Dean Palmer. And guys like Gonzalez, too.
No balls and a strike. Foul ball again. Pulled to the left side, down through the glove of the ball boy who
and
chagrined.
String continues, Mr. Lucas.
Wow, 14 straight pitches that have been strikes.
Golly. That's like that kid Chuck Nagy in Cleveland. Have you seen his streak now? 28 2/3 innings without a walk.
That's the kind of young player that all coaches and managers dream of.
Yeah, and his ball's got stuff. He's just not sort of coasting it in there, you know.
No balls and 2 strikes, 2 outs to Dean Palmer. No score in the game. We're in the bottom of the 3rd. There's a hard shot. Here comes Cangelosi. He's going to score. The Rangers are on the board and lead it 1-0. Run batted in number 37 for Dean Palmer, and the Rangers take an early 1-0 advantage.
When you look at this location of the pitch, you can't help but believe that Dopson is going to think this is a bad mistake on 0-2. Look where that ball is, right down the middle, thigh high.
Well, and that is really Dean's strongest spot in the swing. That ball thigh high or even a little lower. He's pretty good with low balls.
You got to believe Dopson was trying to work that ball off the inner or outer half and simply made a mistake of about a foot one way or the other in location.
Palmeiro now the hitter. Now remember, Palmer stole a base the last time on, and the key there really was that Flaherty's throw was very poor. Palmeiro bounced Cooper to Dopson covering. Well, Oakland continued to struggle. California blasted them 10-0 today. So the Rangers can gain a game if they can win this one.
Julio Valera with a beautiful pitching performance for the Angels.
Isn't that amazing? I mean, they've had some games in this little stretch where obviously they gained some ground when the Rangers went west and they won all 3, but since then they've had some games where they've gotten blasted. There's a foul ball to the left. And of course the standings going into play. Well, this is updated. This includes the games that have concluded. Oakland by 3.5 over Minnesota and Texas. Chicago 9, but well under 500. In fact, only 3 teams over 500.
Hey, Greg, that team in 4th place in a lot of trouble, the White Sox. A lot of trouble.
1 ball and 2 strikes. But of course, you know that's what makes baseball the intriguing game that it is. Look at the Red Sox. Look at the Rangers. The Rangers are only 3.5 games out of 1st place, and yet they're getting it they're there because of things people felt were the weaknesses.
Yeah.
And they're not farther in a better position because of the strengths not being the way they're supposed to be.
Oh, but the White Sox, you can have a bad week. You can have 2 bad weeks. It's going on 4 straight bad weeks for the White Sox now.
1 ball and 2 strikes. Palmeiro the hitter. Palmer at first. Cooper bobbles and picks and touches, and that's it. But the Rangers in the 3rd get a run on 2 hits. The RBI hit by Palmer after Cangelosi's single, and the Rangers lead it 1-0 through 3.
Today's Rangers game is being brought to you by Southwest Airlines, providing frequent flights and everyday low fares, which is why flying Southwest Airlines is just plain smart.
Well, the guys in the truck finding interesting cloud formations, and that's what you've got there. The Rangers lead the game 1-0 as we go to the 4th, and for the Red Sox, it's Luis Rivera, the shortstop, grounded out to the shortstop Houston in the 1st. No balls and a strike. No balls and a strike. Take a look at some of the action. In fact, all the National League action was this afternoon. There's a pitch that's low, and it's 1 ball and a strike. In the American League, much more prone to play at night. as only one game is finished in the American League. So shortly we'll have Norm review the National League action. 1 ball and a strike to Rivera, and it's 2 balls and a strike. Rivera over the last 14 games hitting .313. Very steady defensively. He made an error last night, but it was his first fielding error of the year. The other 4 had been throwing. There's a bouncer out to Houston, cut off by Palmer, quickly across, and he makes the play. Put a star on that one, Dean, having to go almost all the way to second base.
Houston feels this ball. Does he get him?
I don't think so, because of the angle we're talking about. It's possible, but it would have been a lot more difficult. Good play.
Yeah. Plus, Palmer's arm is superior to Jeff's. So.
Yeah. Well, here's Wade Boggs. Boggs grounded to Houston in the first, and once again, those ground balls. Kevin Brown has that sinker. There's another one, but that one sinks through for a base hit. So Boggs is safely at first base. And now let's go to the National League scoreboard.
Boy, what pitching today in the National League. Bud Black throws a beauty. The Giants get 3 in the third and beat San Diego 3-1. The only run in Houston comes in the bottom of the 9th on an Eric Anthony pinch hit as Jones beats Hershiser. In Pittsburgh tonight, Montreal rallies as Gardner tops Smith. Montreal's taken 3 in a row in the Steel City. Philadelphia gets terrific pitching from Terry Mulholland, and he bests Maddox before 35,000 in the vet. In Atlanta tonight, another dynamite pitching performance. Avery outpitches Browning, though he allowed 11 hits. Oh!
Clark hit by a pitch. And he'll go to first, and moving over will be Wade Boggs into second base. Little conference on the mound.
Got him in the 2.
Yeah, that doesn't hurt.
Last score in the National League, another well-pitched game. Bob Tewksbury's 7th win, and the Cardinals continue the Mets' misery. The Mets, the highest paid team in baseball, have lost 16 of their last 22. Give you another note on the Mets here in a minute that you'll really love, Greg.
Mike Greenwell will be the hitter. He is grounded unassisted. Rangers playing for a double play with 1 out. Joined in the booth here by Tom Schiefer, the president of the Rangers. Want to talk a little bit about the big news that was released yesterday, but we're going to have to do it in the next half inning, we hope. And we will. Double play. We'll talk with Tom Schiefer when we come up in the bottom of the 4th. Rangers lead it 1-0 through 3 1/2.
Southwest Airlines presents Rangers Flashback.
John Moses in right field. Here comes Franco. Here's the throw. It is not in time, and the Rangers win it 1-0.
This Rangers Flashback is sponsored by Southwest Airlines, providing frequent flights and low everyday fares, which is why flying Southwest Airlines is just plain smart.
Back we are as you take a look at our, this is kind of typical number of people in the booth, but the important man is Tom Schiefer right in the middle here, the president of the Texas Rangers. We want to talk with Tom about the big news yesterday that, well, we know one feature event coming to the new stadium in 1995, the All-Star Game. That's going to be a great thrill for all the fans in North Texas.
It's just a terrific opportunity for all of us with the franchise. I think it'll be a great chance to showcase the new ballpark and let everybody know what a great place it is to play ball.
Of course, it won't be the first big event there because the '84 World Series or the '94 World Series, of course, will have already been played there. But that'll bring everybody.
That'll be our repeat year.
That'll be good. Juan Gonzalez, who is going to be a big portion of all the activities in the new stadium and might even be playing in that All-Star game in 2 years, leads off here and takes a strike.
Tom, that game is always pretty well locked down from a time standpoint. Do you have the date?
No, they don't have the exact date, but generally it's the second week, the second Tuesday in July. Yeah. I think they're waiting on the final schedule to make sure that it may be the television contract. I don't know which one.
Have any of your friends started calling yet for tickets? Greg Lucas,
a lot of inquiries. A lot of inquiries.
1 ball and a strike to Juan.
Bobby Brown yesterday, when he talked about it, said that he was going to retire and move back to Fort Worth and referred all ticket inquiries to George. So.
Also joined in the booth by the amazing Emu, who will not be playing in the 1994 and 1995 All-Star game. You talked about the All-Star game coming in. As Gonzalez strikes out for the second time, 1 out in the inning. With a new stadium, that seems to be kind of the pattern that it helps, certainly, to get one soon after one is constructed. But how difficult really is it? Are there a lot of teams going after these All-Star games?
Well, it's the premier event in baseball, and so everybody wants it. It's a great prestige event. We felt like we had a real good chance once we got the referendum passed.
Reimer hitting a foul ball. Well, this ball club, let's talk about it a little bit too, because just 3.5 games out of first place, not really hitting on all cylinders. Normally I've been talking about some other teams, including the Red Sox, that certainly haven't been hitting on all cylinders. So it's kind of typical in baseball. So you got to be still optimistic that things could turn out very well this year.
I think this is a very good team, and it's a team that is hanging in there when everything's not going well.
High and deep, but not deep enough. Burks in center field makes the catch.
Tom, I think our audience should be interested in finding out if there's been any movement with any of the 3 free agents. Have you had any particularly moving discussions with the agents for Guzman, Russell, or Sierra?
Norm, we really just kind of decided a little while ago that we weren't going to talk about that during the season, that it could be a possible distraction to the players, and so we're trying to move that off the back burner and let them play baseball. That doesn't mean that we're not interested and that we have not contacted or talked to their agents, but it's just the sort of thing that I think is a distraction right now to talk about it publicly.
Now, that doesn't mean there may not be hot and heavy negotiations going on with one or more. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but you're just trying to keep that quiet if you are talking, is what you're saying.
I think it's just best not to get into contract talks during the season in a public manner.
He's been hanging around with the Bush family too much, I'm telling you, Greg.
He's a lawyer. 1 ball and 1 strike. And Petrale, who singled the first time up, in the second with a 2 ball and 1 strike count. Well, the only thing good about it, I guess you could say good, is that you're not the only guy in the tub. There are a bunch of other team presidents and club owners that have similar problems.
It is. It's very interesting the way it's developing. A lot of the rumors about this player or that player being signed within hours just haven't come true. And I think it just brings to bear more into the spotlight more of what we've been talking about.
Well, Petrale is going to be retired, and we want to again congratulate Tom Schieffer and all the Rangers organization for securing the All-Star game and the construction of the stadium. We watch it every day, and thanks for stopping by.
Oh, thanks, Greg.
Thank you, Tom, very much.
Good to see you, Norm.
Tom Schieffer has been our guest, and that's going to be the new home in a couple of years. 1-0 Rangers as we return in a moment. Ah, 1-0 the Texas lead here in the 5th, and love in the air once again at Arlington Stadium between innings. Yet another proposal. There are not going to be any single people left in the Metroplex. Ellis Burks.
Woman looked a lot like another woman who said yes earlier this year.
Well, don't think we've had that yet. That would be new. The guy is such a baseball fan. He loves the tickets they give him, so he just brings a different person just to get good seats. No balls and a strike.
Telling you, Greg, you had the right idea. Call Chuck Morgan and tell him you want to propose marriage during the 7th game of the World Series. They always give you those great seats right behind third base.
Well, of course, you can practice this with the All-Star game in 1995. Yes. 2 balls and a strike. You have to pay $200 for the
yeah, but that's less, honor. That's less than what
sure.
World Series tickets will be,
yeah.
probably.
Yeah, oh yeah. That's why they'd say, yeah, sure, we'll go for that. 2 balls and a strike. Oh, Burks rips it, curving toward the line. It will be a foul ball. Just missed the line. Burks cuts across the infield and comes back to step up with a 2-2 count.
In case you haven't heard it, there's a really good story about Ellis Burks. When Sandy Johnson, who runs all the Rangers scouting and drafting of players, was at San Diego, his son kept saying to him, "Dad, I'm rooming with this kid at Ranger who can really play, Ellis Burks." Dad said, yeah, we like him. Well, the Red Sox branded him right away, and Sandy's son now doesn't let his dad forget.
Yeah, he was a first-round pick, and he was the 20th player overall by the Red Sox. That's fouled back. Off the foot, the trolley. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Ellis, like a number of the Red Sox, has had some injury problems. Of course, the inflamed right knee most recently, but over the last couple of years as well. And Kevin Brown with his 5th strikeout. Tomorrow night on Sports Talk, Dallas Maverick Chief Scout Keith Grant will be a guest. The NBA draft is just 4 days away, so you can talk to Keith and Norm about Maverick possibilities, and then we'll also have a player feature for you. Then Wednesday night, we won't be taking phone calls, but you can come. Well, at this point, we're not, but you can come join us in the bleachers and ask questions in person. Come on out and be sure to be there before 7 o'clock. Sports Talk on HSC. And Palmer makes the play for the 2nd out here in the inning.
Rafi Palmeiro with a nice play at first base and a throw that skipped. You remember when Rafi first started playing first base? He had such trouble with these throws. He had a lot of trouble making the short hop throw at first base. He muffed a lot of them. Can you remember a ball in the dirt that he hasn't scooped this year?
No, he's done a fine job.
This is the hitter before. Look at this pitch, Greg. He's unhittable when the sinker's there when you're behind in the count.
Yep, because you got to swing to protect the plate, and you're not going to hit it. Here's Cooper. He grounded out in the 3rd to Palmeiro with Brown covering. 1 ball and a strike. Brown got a little national publicity not too long ago, appearing on Roy Firestone's program. 1 ball and a strike, and that's slapped toward left, but that'll be foul.
That means Kevin's going to get 2 free shirts soon, because that's what they give you for appearing on Roy Firestone's
You've been on that show.
Yeah.
2 free shirts. Do they fit?
Yeah. They're personally fitted for you. They have a guy there with a tape measure and measure you up and everything.
Okay.
It's great. David Rickey is the name of the company. Very nice shirts.
You may get 2 more now, Norm. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
We get everything at Eddie Williams.
That's right. And nothing is as good as Eddie Williams stuff here in Arlington. One ball and 2 strikes with 2 outs. Scott Cooper.
Boy, hits have been a little hard to come by tonight.
Yeah, just a total of 5. Rangers have 3. They also have the only run, and there's another strikeout. This one on a high pitch, and Brown was 6 strikeouts through 5. And 1, 2, 3 in the 5th. Coming up bottom of the 5th, Rangers have Houston, Newman, and Cangelosi, and more importantly, they've got a 1-0 lead. Bottom of the 5th for Texas, it'll be Houston, Newman, and Cangelosi leading off against John Dopson. But before that happens, it's time for the HSE trivia question. Tonight's main prize, this plaque autographed by Jose Guzman, by the way, produced by Southwest Hobby Sports in Plano. Also to the winner, a copy of Who Was the Amazing Emu, 501 Ranger trivia questions, and many of them used on this show. 2 former Rangers have had uncles who played in the major leagues. Name the nephews and the uncles. First person with the correct answer to 277-0779 or 277-004 is the winner. 1 winner per household, please. And Houston swings through the first pitch.
Boy, you better have the trivia book to get that one.
And
nephews and uncles?
Then if you win, you can win another one. I'm assuming that one came out of the book. Most of the questions come out of the book. No balls and a strike. bouncing ball right back to the mound. That's one down. It'll bring up Newman. Newman flied to center, leading off the third. Rangers scoring a run in the third. Cangelosi singled, went to third on a ground out, and then came in on a base hit by Palmer. It has been a pitcher's game. John Dopson and Kevin Brown. No balls and 2 strikes. 29 of the last 33 pitches thrown by Dopson have been strikes. That'll keep you aggressive at the plate. We're assuming all of those would have also been strikes if they had been taken. That's been one of the Rangers' problems. We have a trivia winner, so thank you for participating. And we'll give you the answer in another inning or so.
To give you an idea of how good the Red Sox pitching is, they're 3.08. That's a team ERA. 3.08 is 0.6 of a run better than the second best team in the American League, Toronto.
Short fly ball. Brunansky comes in, makes the play on Newman for the second out. That's why it's such a shame if you're a Red Sox fan to see your team only one game over 500.
Right fielder,
And the tradition of Boston has been big bats, no speed, average or less than pitching. Although over the recent years with Clemens, it's never been average.
Yeah, the traditional lament is, oh, if we only had pitching. Now they've got pitching, they don't have the hitting.
And they didn't trade any of the hitting away to get the pitching.
No.
Really, it's just the guys that used to hit don't. No, 1 ball and no strikes to Cangelosi, who singled and scored the Rangers' run. Got to play in shallow on the corners, and it's 2 balls and no strikes. John has just 2 hits in his last 14 at bats, but the one he got here was the case in point. It is when you get them more than how many often. And it's 3 balls and no strikes. Well, last time he was up, he did not try to steal. He ended up scoring without it. See if he can get on this time. 3 balls, no strikes. Easily.
The lack of Boston offense is really bothering them. And Hobson, at the height of his frustration about a week ago, issued this quote after a game: "We can't win with what we have. We have to make changes." That's a fairly blunt statement by a manager, and it's backed up by other people in the organization. The rumors are that the Red Sox are actively out there looking for bats. Problem is, one of the bats they were looking for, Ivan Calderon, hurt his shoulder in Montreal. They'd have loved to have had him.
Big long lead for Cangelosi. It has to dive back.
Funny thing is, Boston's offering pitching in trade. When's the last time the Red Sox were offering pitching in trade?
Well, they probably tried.
Yeah, and there's probably a guy or two on this staff they're still trying to trade. Those salaries will get you down. That Matt Young, $4 million left to pay over the next couple of years, and 0 W's. That's not going to get him moved.
No balls and a strike. Cangelosi diving back in. Well, and back when their pitching wasn't very good, you know they were trying to trade it.
Oh, yeah. Take my wife, please. It's the old Henny Youngman?
Yeah.
Henny Youngman line, yeah.
Cangelosi again with a long lead at first. There he goes. Pitch is taken. The throw through is in time. Right on the button. Flaherty's throw to the second baseman Reed, and that retires the Rangers. As Cangelosi is nailed at second base, and we've played 5. The Rangers lead it 1-0 as we go out looking at the perfect throw from Flaherty to Reed. John Flaherty will lead things off in the 6th inning for the Red Sox. He was called out on strikes in the 3rd. Just finished the last half inning, though, gunning down an attempted base thief. Chops it to Palmer. Palmer, busy day at 3rd. 1 out. Time to take a look at our trivia winner. First of all, our question tonight. 2 former Rangers have had uncles who played in the major leagues. Name the nephews and the uncles. Roy Smalley, Gene Mauch, Bobby Johnson, Ernie Banks. Now, that's got to be a tough one. Winner Stephen Best of Longview. He receives the copy of Who Was the Amazing Emu and the plaque. Trivia book available in the Arlington Stadium gift shop. Southwest Hobby Sports plaques are going to be available at the Sports Collectors Expo. That's a sports card show of the summer. 13 autographed guests are going to be appearing. It's going to be at the Arlington Convention Center over the 4th of July weekend. People like Sierra, Franco, Gonzalez, Rodriguez, and even a football guy named Irvin and a basketball guy named Johnson, Larry, are expected to be on hand right here in Arlington. Jody Reed takes a strike takes a ball rather to even the count of 1 ball and a strike. Red Sox last 15 outs have had 9 ground outs and 6 strikeouts. And Reed leading off the game. This time only a spinning ground out. He was the one who had the only fly ball.
Tell you what, when a sinker ball pitcher has got his stuff, the game looks so easy for the pitcher because you never even get scared by the occasional long fly ball like a pitcher who throws the rising fastball. Occasionally a ball will be hit a long way that sort of scares you a little bit, but Brown and Dopson are just dominating the game.
Luis Rivera, who has 2 of those worm beaters. He grounded 1 to the shortstop and 1 to the 3rd baseman.
This will be for the starters. Of the last 39 games, the Rangers starters gone 6 innings, 34 of them. That's, for this club, that's a remarkable figure.
1 ball and no strikes. Another ground beater. Another one to Palmer. Another spinner. Good play.
Not going to be a live worm left in his infield.
We're going to need to aerate artificially. That takes care of the top of the 6th. 1-0 Texas on HSE. Rangers lead it 1-0 as we go to the bottom of the 6th. Ground transportation arranged through General Rent-A-Car, where we're going all out to offer you big savings, including U.S. savings bonds with rentals of quality Chrysler cars. Brian Downing, the first hitter in the 6th. Brian has walked and grounded out. He was at the plate when Cangelosi tried to and was unsuccessful stealing, ending the 5th.
Brian earlier in the week telling the Dallas Morning News that this would be his last season. But remember, last year Brian told the Dallas Morning News it would be his last season.
Before spring training of last year, he didn't think he was playing again. Although this year he's had some injuries that have plagued him, and the fact that he's not been in the lineup every day, either because he couldn't or because of a manager's decision. A little more frustrated, I think.
He's really bothered by the rib cage. It just doesn't ever get well.
No balls and 2 strikes.
Which makes the fact that Brian Downing has the best on-base percentage on the club even more impressive.
1 ball and 2 strikes. Well hit ball, but he may have hooked it. He did. Foul ball. You know, I used to know, and I can't remember, the number of total players like coming into this season who appeared in Major League Baseball games. You know, it's obviously in the thousands. Brian Downing, 33rd on the all-time list for walks. There's a lot of players that have not achieved what he has.
Well, you know, you look at his career totals. And Greg, he's moving way up in some things. And Brian Downing has had a wonderful career.
It's been long. It's been productive. It's been adaptable. But this isn't one of the moments he wants to remember. That's one out. Third strikeout for Dopson, and Palmer will be the hitter. Dean single drove in the Ranger run. Tallahassee, Florida. That's where he grew up. Well hit ball, but it may be too well hit. It is right in the glove of Greenwell. Sometimes too much of a good thing. Hit that one right on the noggin. Palmeiro up now with 2 outs. He has grounded the first baseman twice. Cooper making the play unassisted the second time. Don't forget, same 2 teams tomorrow night, but 1 hour earlier than when we started tonight. It'll be a 7:05 first pitch. And Roger Clemens will be wearing the Red Sox colors on the mound. He has not been particularly effective here.
That is the 75th pitch of the game for John Dopson. As we told you, this guy's been off nearly 2 years. His effectiveness really goes down. In games he's thrown 75 pitches this year. In pitches after 75, the opponents are hitting an even 300 against him.
That's a ball. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Greg Kosk at third base. Two balls and 2 strikes. Well, not only the number of pitches that you pointed out, but also he's got the other disadvantage of having to play here where it's 87 degrees and he's working up a good perspiration. That's foul.
Tell you what, these tight games may be getting to Dopson. His last out, he led 1-0 to the 9th inning, and that was the game that he left and turned it over to Jeff Reardon, that Reardon saved for his all-time leading baseball figure of 342nd save. So for the last 14 innings Dopson has pitched, the score has either been 0-0 or 1-0. You make a lot of pitches under pressure in games like that.
Can't hang one of them up. And he has given up 5 home runs this year. That pitch is a ball. 3 balls and 2 strikes. His average against actually is a little better than Brown's. Now he's pitched far fewer innings, but he's given up more home runs, and Palmeiro is on. There, we passed that magic point. The first batter that passes it walks. 3rd walk of the game, and not just another stick. This is the magic wand. So say the folks in Jacksonville, Texas. They've certainly been right on it this month. Let's see. Calendar has March, April, May, 1, July, August. Been his month. 10 home runs.
You know, the strange thing about this power show is it's not accompanied by some outrageous hitting streak. I mean, Juan's average hasn't skyrocketed in the month or anything like that.
Been a bit of a problem here in this game. That one he takes up for a ball. It's 1 ball and 1 strike. In 2 plate appearances, he swung and missed at 5 strikes, because he's an aggressive guy.
But Greg, notice what's happening at Dopson. The last 3 pitches to Palmeiro were all up in the strike zone, and he's up in the strike zone here to Gonzalez, and a sinker ball pitcher. That's a bad trend. Oh!
There's a hard shot fair, and that was up. And here comes going into second base Palmeiro. The ball gets loose. Here comes Palmeiro. Here comes the relay to the play, and he is safe. On the two-base hit by Gonzalez, and no sir, the magic wand waves again.
It's almost scary how after the 75th pitch, Dopson just seemed to lose it. He had Palmeiro in the hole at 75 pitches, lost it, walked him, got the ball up. Gonzalez rips it, and knowing that number, here comes the pitching coach.
Rich Gale makes a trip to the mound as we take a look at the replay of the play at the plate, or almost play at the plate. Tom Bolton, the left-hander, is loosening for the Red Sox, while Gale, at the very least, stalls. And home plate umpire Dale Ford's going to let him stall for a while. He's not even left the home plate area. Reimer's in a conversation. He ought to quit talking to him.
I was just about to say that. Reimer's talking Dale Ford's ear off while the Boston relievers getting ready. What you ought to lean over and say, hey, Dale, don't you think you should be heading out there?
Bottom of the sixth, the Rangers have a couple RBIs by Juan Gonzalez. That, by the way, was his 43rd run batted in. And earlier, Dean Palmer got his 37th. Gonzalez 1 for 3 in this one.
Gonzalez is really cracking it. And you know what? We may have the intentional pass come out and take the pitcher right out situation.
There's 2 outs. This sets up the force play, and it also allows them to still stay lefty-lefty because Petrali is due up next, and the lefty Bolton is warming up. Julio Franco putting the gloves on, so that may not be the way it turns out.
Well, let's see if
he hadn't made the change yet, so Bobby Valentine hasn't done anything yet.
They may be waiting for a sign from the Boston bullpen if Bolton's ready.
I don't know,
Yeah, but Gray, the problem the Red Sox have here is they're not hitting. And if Bolton lays one down the middle here and the Rangers get 3 or 4 ahead, that's Death Valley for the Boston attack these days.
Well, apparently all that decision to walk Reimer was to get to a less efficient hitter and also set up the force play. That had nothing to do with percentages. And now we'll see our pitching changes. No balls and a strike. Petrali did single in the second and grounded out in the fourth. There are 2 outs in the inning. The Rangers have a run in and lead it 2-0 in the sixth. He spanks it, but Rivera will make the forced toss over to Reed, and that retires the side. So the Rangers get a run on a walk and a double. The double by Gonzalez plates Palmeiro, and through 6, it's 2-0 Texas. Kevin Brown has been on top of things. He's allowed just the 2 hits. Single to Clark in the second and a single to Boggs in the fourth.
Hey, like we were joking with the Red Sox announcers before the game, first 1-2 wins.
And maybe so. Boggs had one of the hits, and he takes a first pitch fastball for a ball. 1 ball and no strikes.
Through 6 innings, Kevin Brown has thrown only 59 pitches.
5-time champion Wade Boggs takes it up. 2 balls and no strikes. Earlier this month we're talking about the Major League draft and who got drafted first and so on and so forth. There's a guy that's done all well for himself, and he was a 7th round pick. There's a base hit. Wade Boggs 2 for 3, leads off the 7th. Now Jack Clark, a very dangerous man, even though his numbers this year have not been impressive. Clark singled in the second and was hit by a pitch in the fourth. Here's a guy that's been playing with a sore back, rib cage problem. Last season hit 28 home runs for the Red Sox. This year he has 3.
Clark's a hitter that has given Brown some trouble in the past, and you can tell why. Clark will go down and get the fastball down in the strike zone pretty well. And that's Kevin's meat and potatoes pitch. Clark unbuttoning at a terrific swing at a ball. He was right on it, just a little bit under it.
No balls and 2 strikes. And the Rangers leading it 2-0. That's a foul ball. Rangers with an attendance tonight of over 40,000 have passed 1 million for the year. Second earliest ever. And there's why. 40,401. Hoping to see the Rangers gain a game on the first place A's, and the A's have already lost their game.
Looks like they won't gain on Minnesota, though. Minnesota's rallied from an early deficit and leads Seattle 5-2 in the 8th.
1 ball and 2 strikes to Jack Clark as he checks the signs of Don Zimmer coaching at third. Runner over at first, Wade Boggs.
Just another one of the guys at the plate, Jack Clark, into auto racing. He's hit 25 homers or more for 5 different teams in his career. Goodbye.
Maybe more than just goodbye if he didn't watch himself. Dale Forden here having a mild discussion. Actually, from Dale's standpoint, it was mild. Jack wasn't so mild.
Ooh.
He's out. He's gone. That's automatic. That doesn't take any deliberating. Now, Butch Hobson's going to come out, but that's automatic. You throw equipment, you're gone.
I think Jack wants his money's worth. See, if Clark gets into this too heavily, he risks the possibility of suspension here. Oh, Jack's a little unhappy.
Well, at least he's putting on a show for us, huh?
We're talking suspension, Greg.
Well, he's already been thrown out, so just makes the fine bigger.
Greg, this is a frustrated hitter on a frustrated team. That was a terrific pitch. That wasn't even.
He needed a shovel. A broom's not enough. Well, maybe losing a manager if he didn't watch himself. Because really, I'm sure all he's saying is he threw equipment. It's automatic. He's out. Why argue? Yeah, Hobson's looking for it, I think. Yep, he got it. At least he can go down and talk to Jack. Here's the pitch.
Take a look at this, Greg. Hey, I'm sorry, that's a strike. What fooled Clark was it was a little baby slider on the inside corner. He thought it was going to be the sinker, and the ball broke.
I think what also fooled him was, you notice the way Petrale moved out. That wasn't exactly where Petrale was expecting it. That's a looper toward left. And, miscommunication. Reimer can't get to it. Looked like he slowed up, and it drops in for a base hit. Greenwell with the base hit. He slowed down on that ball, it looked like to me. This is, to be honest, a black hole of the Ranger defense. They just left field adventure time. Boggs at second base. Let's take a look at it. Well, this after it already looked like he slowed down and then he couldn't speed up again. Now with runners at first and second, Boggs at second, Greenwell at first, Burks is the hitter. That's a strike. They gave us the note over the speaker system that was the third time that Clark has been thrown out this year. That's a high total for a player.
For a designated hitter especially. I mean, you know how he gets thrown out only one way. Complaining about ball and strike calls.
Hobson, that was his first ever. Clark's an old hand. As manager, at least. He may have been thrown out as a player, but maybe not. No balls and a strike. Nothing in two. Burks has struck out twice. Well, action here in the seventh. Rangers 2, Boston nothing. Boston with runners at first and second, one out. Alex Burks the hitter. He has now struck out all 3 times he's faced Brown in this game. That's 8 strikeouts for Kevin.
Same pitch that got Burks last time.
Yeah, he's getting some of these strikeouts on pitches that maybe aren't strikes if you can lay off, but awfully hard. Now Brunansky, who has struck out and grounded out. 2 outs, runners at first and second.
Ooh. Brown got hung up there coming off the mound.
Crowley comes out to ask him if he's okay. Well, the 8 strikeouts equals his season high. Brunansky waits back at the plate for Petrale to come back. Here's tonight's Rolaids moment. It's churning inside Jack Clark as he dusts the plate. You can just call it Jack Clark going berserk or Jack Clark getting thrown out, but listen to Dallas station KLIF Talk Radio 570 tomorrow morning at 7:45. If you're the correct caller and identify this Rolaids moment, you win a pair of tickets to a future Ranger home game and a $25 gift certificate for groceries.
One can imagine there's a bit of acid indigestion there.
Not only does Brown's 8 strikeout total equal his high for the year, earlier the 8 also was tied his career high, so he's never had more than 8. Well, last season was a perfect example. What did we look at? 90. I'll look it up. It was 90 some and then 90 some walks. It was right the same.
96 Ks and 90 walks, I think, Greg, if I remember the book right.
I think you're right. 96 and 90. Got it.
Meanwhile, Kevin Brown's 1 pitch away from walking Brunansky.
Oh, he helped him there. 3-0 pitch, Al Newman and Palmeiro says, I'll take it. He does. That retires the side. So 2 runners on a couple of hits, but 2 big strikeouts, and the 7th is finished for the Red Sox as Al Newman keeps talking that ball into the glove. Catch it, big guy, and he does, and that retires the side. Rangers coming up in the 7th with Houston to lead off. The 7th inning stretch is brought to you by High Performance Citgo Gasoline, available at your participating neighborhood 7-Eleven. Oh, thank heaven for 7-Eleven. And leading things off for the Rangers in the 7th is Houston. Jeff takes a strike. Jeff has wrapped into a 4-6-3 double play and then grounded back to the pitcher Dopson. Well hit, but Greenwell's able to circle around. May have been having a little trouble seeing it, but he found it in time. That retires him. Let's take a look at the American League scoreboard, brought to you by Budweiser, the king of beers with that clean, crisp, cold taste. Nothing beats a Bud.
Would you believe the Oakland game was scoreless into the 5th? Whoa, and California dropped the hammer. Yankees beat up Baltimore. Boy, Baltimore struggled a little bit lately. 9-5 Yankees. Jeff Johnson gets the win there. And in Detroit, young Groom starts for the Tigers. McCaskill pitches a beauty for the White Sox.
Al Newman fouls the ball. He's flied out twice.
Let's go to the other scores. Milwaukee's beating Cleveland tonight. Boy, Milwaukee's playing well. Phil Garner Scraps has really got the Brew Crew playing well. This one's into the 9th in Seattle, and the bullpens are in Minnesota. And the bullpen's in there for the Twins to try to close down a victory. And Juan Guzman does it again. He is 9-1 on the season. Mike Magnante, the loser for Kansas City.
Little hand problem on the last swing by Al. Slaps it, but he can't get it by Boggs. That's a second out, but that's the kind of job of hitting that Newman really needs to do more of, staying away from those fly balls. And Cangelosi, who needs to be the same kind of hitter, is up. He has been on base twice. Wade Boggs, don't talk about him a lot about the glove, but he's got a good one. Good solid third baseman. We'll have a little delay here as an oversized ball from the beach has hit the warning track in right field. This will be the 90th pitch coming up for Dopson.
Couple of names from the Rangers minor league system to keep an eye on, because they're both former highly regarded pitchers who were injured last year who are coming back, Greg. Darren Oliver, a really good looking prospect a couple years ago, started out in 8 games at Charlotte with a .72 earned run average. .72. He's been promoted to Tulsa, and so has Cedric Shaw, a lefty who I believe had 6 wins down in Class A already. Couple of guys to keep an eye on.
1 ball and a strike. Look out, folks. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Danny Darwin, former Ranger, former Astro.
Rich man.
Former Brewer, yeah. Still rich man.
Still rich man. Boy, he got a great contract in the Red Sox, didn't he? What was it, 3 years, $11 million, something like that?
And then he had arm problems.
Yeah.
1 ball and 2 strikes. Well, he got it. His timing was right. That great year he had with the Astros, that was his free agent year, and by golly, 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Funny how that happens a lot.
It does, doesn't it? He was led the National League in earned run average in '90 with Houston 2.20, and then by golly, free agent time. Oh, Cangelosi would not have been surprised. That call could have gone either way. Full count.
What's wrong with this pitch, Greg?
Well, you know, under Major League umpiring now, that's considered high.
Right.
Well, there's a glove of Boggs. How about that one? He can do more than just hit.
Nice play on the other end, too, by a third baseman playing first base, Scott Cooper, with a big stretch.
1, 2, 3. The Rangers go down in the 7th, but they still lead it behind Kevin Brown. 2-0 to the 8th on HSE. Time for the Dallas Morning News Sports Day front page news, from heroes to zeros. Well, that's been the story because Kevin Brown has been in command of the Boston Red Sox. Don't forget, you can catch all the action in Sports Day every day only in the Dallas Morning News.
Matter of fact, the Heroes scored more than a major league team so far.
They scored, 4 runs in their 3 innings. And Gonzalez bobbles that one badly. That'll be a single, and it should be a 2-base error. Cooper goes all the way to third. Wow. Well, I think they're going to give him a double and a 1-base error, but let's just say he's an error.
Well, he overruns the ball. Then he tries to.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, my. You sure we don't want to reconsider the Rolaids moment?
We've already done it. But that wasn't a very nicely done job in the outfield. Now, the runner at third base is going to test Brown's effectiveness. So far, he has faced 5 batters with runners in scoring position. He's had 3 strikeouts, a pop out, and a double play. This is the most severe test.
But you know, Greg, Kevin Brown has looked through the last 4 or 5 hitters like he's running out of gas a little bit. Nunez up.
The Red Sox.
Remember, Jeff Russell faced 5 men last night. Now, it's not unusual to use Russ 2 nights in a row, but he did face 5 men last night coming in the 8th inning. And usually Bobby tries to prevent using Russell for anything but a hitter or 2 the next night after he's had to pitch a couple of innings.
We have a pinch hitter. As you take a look at Cooper at third, Phil Plantier, the left-handed batter, is stepping in.
Oh, here's a mystery.
Yeah, he's another one they were counting on big things. 223 is average with 5 homers and 22 RBIs.
This is a terrific-looking young hitter.
Well, example, last year in limited play at 331 with 11 homers. Great minor league hitter, and 33 homers in the minor leagues in 1990 to lead all minor leaguers. And he takes a strike. There's just a difference.
At his current pace, if Plantier were to get 600 at-bats this year, he'd strike out over 140 times.
1 ball and a strike. Of late, he's hit well. As a matter of fact, very well. Over the last 7 games, he's hit 3 homers and a .720 slugging percentage. A little knee ailment was the reason he didn't start tonight. Foul ball. So you look at those numbers and you say, well, they aren't very good, but they were a lot worse. I wonder if that's real. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Nunez continues to throw in the Ranger bullpen. There's nobody out. Rangers lead 2-1, but a runner at third with nobody out. Rangers are back. They want the outs. It's 2-0 right now. It may be 2-1 soon. I gave you an erroneous score. The runner is at third base. Cooper.
But you
and everyone recognizes the coach.
Yes. Don Zimmer. The Zim.
Big strikeout. And there it is. That's a career high for a single game for Kevin Brown. 9 strikeouts. And boy, when you got a runner at third base, nobody out, that's when you need it. He also needs another one.
9 strikeouts and no walks. That'll get you there.
Jody Reed is one of those strikeout victims. Rangers will give up the run to get the out. Houston at short. Makes the play, and that's 2 outs, but it is now 2-1 in favor of Texas.
Shortstop Luis Rivera.
And Cooper after the double, going to third on the ground out. And remember, that is not an earned run yet. And if he gets Rivera, it won't be. There's a double tossing situation now with Rogers joining Nunez.
Even if Brown gets Rivera here, it means he's going to have to wade through the heart of their lineup in the 9th inning, starting with a guy named Wade. And then whoever the DH is, because the lineup on the board hasn't been corrected. The Red Sox haven't named their DH to replace the departed, the dearly departed Jack Clark.
No balls and a strike. Al Newman at second base. The run is unearned, but it does score. The leadoff double going to third on the air, and the ground ball bringing him in. The Rangers lead now 2-1 as we go to the bottom of the 8th. It'll be the top of the Ranger batting order when we return.
Portions of Texas Rangers baseball are brought to you by Bismart, official business product supplier to the Texas Rangers.
Rangers coming up in the bottom of the 8th with the top of the order. Downing, Palmer, and Palmeiro. 2-1. Texas leads. Rangers won the opening game of the series last night by a score of 4-1 and lead this series presently 3 games to 1.
You know, one of the reasons the Rangers are hanging in there, Greg, is despite, and this is one of the funnier statistics around, despite leading the league in blown saves and leading the league in errors, they are also right at the league leader in 1-run wins. 16-7 in 1-run games. And those statistics don't seem to mesh together. Blown saves, errors, and winning 1-run games.
2 years ago, I think, didn't they lead the, no, they led the American League. They may have led baseball in 1-run games. Tony Pena, the new catcher, has to replace Flaherty, who the pinch hitter was used for. No balls and a strike to Downing. 2 balls and no strikes.
Red Sox realizing Dobson's well into his pitch count, have the bullpen ready.
Foul back, 1 ball, 2 strikes. Boy, that big rip, just a little under the pitch.
Dopson gave him a melon up in the eyes, didn't he?
One ball, 2 strikes. High pop on a change. Tomorrow night it's Roger Clemens and Todd Burns, who has had 2 fine starts in a row. Well hit. Greenwell can't get it. Uses the body to block it. That'll hold Downing to first base with a hard shot single.
Given that they didn't expect Dopson to get him this far most nights, and they've gotten this back to within 1 run, that could conceivably be Dobson's last pitch of the game.
Well, that probably is, because here comes Rich Gale, and Darwin has been throwing long enough. You got the right-handed hitting Palmer up next. Of course, Palmeiro's a lefty, but Gonzalez follows. So with an alternating lineup, it really is a decision as to which way you want to go here. Because Fossas is also down there. The difference may be that Fossas has pitched last night. Darwin may get the call here. Let's just wait and see.
Do they have a reliever that isn't an ex-Ranger?
Nobody's going to get the call.
Darwin, Fossas, Greg Harris.
Yeah. This is the Denton
therapy? I'm not sure if I'm a reliever. I want a Denton therapy sign at the stadium for me.
Denton therapy wants Danny Darwin. Wait a minute. I didn't get to see that. Oh, Denton sports therapy wants Danny Darwin. Well, obviously he did some work rehabilitating at Denton Sports Therapy, huh? What do you think?
Either that or a bunch of guys there used to hit line drives off him, one or the other.
Now, I'm sure Rich Gale noted that when he was walking back to the dugout. He'll give him the call soon. Palmeiro was on deck. Palmer takes the first pitch in for a ball. Palmeiro, the left-handed hitter. Palmer, righty. Palmer's 37th run batted in the third gave the Rangers a 1-0 lead.
You know, I don't understand this strategy by the Red Sox, because it doesn't matter where the lefty or the righty goes at Palmeiro. He's equally adept at pitchers from either side of the plate, and what you're doing is you're leaving a tired pitcher on the mound to face a power hitter, because you don't want to bring the right-hander, then go to the left-hander and have to use 3 pitches here. You're taking an awful chance for what is a no percentage play, Greg.
Well, it appeared that Dopson convinced Rich Gale that he wasn't in fact tired.
Well,
but he's showing every instance that that's not the case, or at least he doesn't feel tired, but he's showing that he is. 3 balls, no strikes. And being the pitching coach, he's probably a little more sympathetic than the manager would have been, but the manager's out of the game. There's a strike. 3 balls and a strike.
Now here, if you're Palmer, you got to realize Dobson's still got to throw a strike. But what you do is you zone here. You say, I want the fastball, and I want him to make a mistake in the middle of the plate up. If he throws that sinker down around the knees, you know, you sort of, what hitters call it zoning. Batting coach Tom Robson calls it zoning. Pick a zone, look for a certain pitch in a certain zone to try to drive.
Foul ball into the stands of the right side. The count now goes full.
Normally you wouldn't consider running Downing in a situation like this, but with a sinker ball on a mound and really not getting the ball by Palmer, you might see a Ranger run and hit situation here.
Meanwhile, Palmeiro is getting the weight off the bat. He's on deck. He goes. Pitch is driven high and deep. And hey, goodbye.
Greg, not to be overly critical, but that was a very, very poor piece of strategy by the Red Sox. After getting to within a run, there was absolutely no percentage reason to let a tired John Dopson face Palmer.
Well, the home run, number 12, the RBIs 38 and 9, 3 on the game, and we got a break in the action, a pitching change. And this break in the action brought to you by Owens Country Sausage. Owens Border Breakfast. Make a great breakfast or snack any time of the day. So let's take an Owens Border break.
Look at this pitch location, Gregory. Oh, gee.
Well, that's how you hit a home run.
Long about 5:30 when Orlando Gomez, the first base coach, is throwing batting practice. That's what you ask him to throw you. Put it right there, about 83 miles an hour, Orlando.
The Rangers 4-1 over the Red Sox. And Tony Fossis, the mechanic, is the new pitcher.
The mechanic, Tony Fossis, Cuban pitcher, former Ranger property. 34 years old, has bounced all around baseball. Signed first by California, then picked up as a minor league free agent by the Rangers. They cut him loose, picked up by Milwaukee. They cut him loose, picked up by the Red Sox and their Pawtucket farm team. And he had a spectacular year last year, pitched in 64 games in the big leagues. But the same effectiveness is not there this season for Tony.
Palmeiro, the hitter, with the bases empty. He has scored a run walking in the 6th inning and coming in on Gonzalez's double. One ball and no strikes.
I'm going to take this a little farther, Greg. I don't understand why down 4-1 now. Boston's got another left-hander up in the bullpen. Down 3 runs, they're going to play right, left, right in the 8th inning. I can't believe they're going to do that.
That makes the ball count 2 balls and a strike. Just got a note about the Dopson point. When he reached 75 pitches, 5 of the next hitters reached base and everybody pulled the ball.
Yeah, 5 of the next 9, and 3 of the 4 runs occur after his 75th pitch within a 9-batter span.
Nice change on that pitch. Got Palmeiro way up in front. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
I guess when you got Roger Clemens pitching the next day, you don't have to worry about burning out your bullpen.
No, he'll go 9. And he'll definitely want to go 9 this time, because last time he left, Reardon actually blew it. First out. And this telecast is authorized under rights granted to Home Sports Entertainment by Major League Baseball and is not intended for the commercial use of our viewing audience. Any reproduction, rebroadcast, retransmission, or other use of this telecast without the expressed written consent of HSE and Major League Baseball is prohibited. And yes, I had the luxury of reading it slowly because there is going to be yet another pitching change. Denton Sports Therapy gets what it wants. Danny Darwin.
And it gets Danny Darwin, who signed a remarkably rich free agent contract to join the Red Sox last year after what Greg told you was just a terrific free agent year to be season with the Houston Astros. Darwin's a former Ranger way back in time. Danny is 36 years old and from Bonham, Texas. In fact, was signed by the Rangers originally. Had his good years, though, in Houston. Had some pretty good years in Texas.
1980 is his best won-loss percentage. That was here.
13-4 here, yeah. This is a guy that has bounced back and forth between starting and relieving. A couple of good years in Houston. Back-to-back 11-4 seasons with the Astros in 89 and 90. What was a huge disappointment for the Red Sox last year. 3-6 and a 5.16. And the numbers are almost exactly the same this season. Chuck Morgan plays Wild Thing, I Think I Love You on the...
Yeah, but see, that was the old Danny Darwin. He, assuming he's healthy, he has good control nowadays. Now, back about 1980 at times. There will always only be one Wild Thing, and he currently plays for the Phillies.
One gets the feeling he will always be Wild Thing.
Here's one. He doubled and drove in a run in the 6th. The RBI was his 43rd of the year. He was geared up for the big smoke, and he didn't get it. No balls and a strike. Laid off that one, and it's 1-1.
Reimeanwhile, having left Dopson in the game one hitter too long, are the Red Sox going to use Darwin for one hitter and bring Bolton to face Reimer now?
Well, that's truly locking the door after it's gone, because you gave up the 2 runs and then you start playing hitter by hitter. 2 balls and a strike. Terry Matthews has now joined Rogers. Well, you know, Gonzalez swings and misses. Coming up in the inning, you got Wade Boggs and then the unknown designated hitter, and then Mike Greenwell. Jack Clark was tossed after arguing a ball strike call in the 7th, and does not have to be officially replaced until that spot in the batting order comes up. 3 balls and 2 strikes. not close. Wild thing he was on the first batter.
Left fielder Kevin.
So Reimer will be the hitter, and here comes the man, the designate manager, the pitching coach, Rich Gale.
Rich got an airtime clause in his contract, you figure?
So Darwin faced one, walked one. Fossas faced one, struck him out.
I've got a question for you about this move, Greg. What if this game goes extra innings? Who are the Red Sox going to use to pitch?
Yeah, that's always the risk when you what you could call over managing. You know, these kind of I don't have a problem with these kind of switches when they're runners on base and scoring position and crucial time in the game. But there's nobody on. There's one out.
I agree. I mean, it's not like the Red Sox are devoid of pitchers. They still got 3 guys sitting down in their bullpen. They've got the Terminator, Jeff Reardon, to close, and he's had a day or 2 off. And they've got Greg Harris, the former Ranger, who's doing a great job for them down there in spot pitching duty. And they've got Matt Young, who really can't be trusted in a close game. But question remains, why in the world are you burning your pitching staff when you're down 3 runs in the 8th inning?
Well, Tom Bolton, who knows all about everywhere in America, he played in the minor leagues for 10 years after originally being a 20th round pick of the Red Sox. Doesn't throw that hard. When he's on, he's all over the plate. When I say all over the plate, corners. He's not wild. He hits the spots. Never throws the center of the plate. Doesn't have a big fastball. In fact, cannot make 85 miles an hour ordinarily. And you see Franco getting set to maybe test it.
When the Red Sox made their big run in 1990, this was a bolt from the blue. Tom Bolton gave them 10 wins and 5 losses as a spot starter. Beautiful 3.38 earned run average.
Well, Franco is going to hit for Reimer. And tomorrow we'll have more baseball for you. That's 7 o'clock. That's correct. But we will have a sports talk program that will precede. Nor are we talking most of that show about Maverick draft possibilities. And there you see Todd Burns, who will be pitching for the Rangers against some guy named Clemens.
So who plays the outfield for the Rangers in the 9th inning?
Well, I bet we see Franco. Bet we see Franco. He has played it once. So you'd hardly call him a defensive replacement when he's played it once, but that's my bet. Tom Bolton, the pitcher.
By the way, do not adjust your set. That was the correct batting average you saw for Julio Franco, 197.
Yeah, he really went down the tubes on the road and proved, I guess, that he's not the mechanical man that he looked like he was his first game back.
Well, you know, what puzzles me here is here's a guy whose legs weren't good enough to start that we're bringing in as a defensive replacement in the 9th inning.
Well, we are assuming he will play left field. You'd think that that's what they're going to have to do. Right now, they're putting him in to try to get a run when you've already got a 3-run lead. Yeah, there's probably more to it than that. 1 ball and no strikes. Well hit, base hit. The strategic part paid off. Going into second base and holding is Gonzalez.
Boy, Tom Bolton's life flashed before his eyes here. This ball was not all that far from being a pitcher's worst nightmare.
Now Petrali is, I think, going to be called back. Yep, here's the pitch.
Hey, look at this. Oh,
boy.
Man, that was even closer. That was scary.
Russ McGinnis is trotting in from the bullpen, so he's going to grab a bat.
You know, it looks like both managers have gotten caught up in this flurry of maneuvering in the 8th. I can commit my roster before you can commit your pitching staff type of thing, and I don't understand. I mean, the Rangers here have committed Franco. That's fine. But here I think that arguably you could say you're taking your better defensive catcher out of the game at this point to get the right-hand hitter up. And, of course, the Red Sox have made the unthinkable mistake of not having a right-hander ready here, Greg.
That's right. They miscounted or something. McGinnis will be the hitter. The reason we have the extra delay is because he was all the way in the bullpen. Franco may not want to hear this statistic I'm going to give. He's 4 for 5 as a pinch hitter, because if you get too good at it, people start getting ideas. That's at the curse of the working man, as if he's a very versatile person. He ends up being the utility guy instead of really getting to do what he wants. Well, Russ McGinnis will be the pinch hitter. Russ also had problems a little bit on the road. He averaged at 240. As a pinch hitter, this is only his second appearance. And he's got runner at second base in Gonzalez. Franco is at first base. 1 out. Already 2 runs in on the 2-run homer by Palmer. And a breaking ball for a strike.
Uh-oh, another pinch hitter comes out on deck.
Dickie Thon stepping out. Join the Rangers and everybody plays. It's like Pony League.
Well, again, and it's a minor point. I mean, you're ahead 4-1 here, but again, you will have taken out your better defensive shortstop and your better defensive catcher to try to expand a lead going to the 9th inning.
McGinnis has an interesting number here, Norm. Now, admittedly, he doesn't have many at-bats. But he plays against left-handed pitching, and he's now hitting less than 200 against left-handed pitching and 400 against right-handed pitching. Only 5 at-bats that way. And so you might want to take a thought of that strategic move in the future. And now Dickie Thon will come in and hit for Houston.
For the Rangers, number 10, Dickie Thon. Pinch hitting for Jeff Houston. Dickie Thon. Pinch hitting for Houston.
Now Dickie .269 against left-handed pitching, just a little bit above his overall average.
By the way, this now leaves the Rangers, I mean, saying something should happen when this game goes to extra innings. It leaves the Rangers with 2 players left on their bench. John Russell is going to have his thumb re-x-rayed Monday because of a foul ball that hit it. And Ruben Sierra, who's got a hamstring problem. Now, Sierra could conceivably pinch hit. That's what I was told before the game. But that's all.
Well, there he is. He's never had a period where he's missed this many games in a row. 1-1. It's kind of a pitch that got McGinnis, that off-speed breaker. And that's Tom Bolton's stock in trade. Sinker, curve, change, 84-mile-an-hour fastball. That's him. 1 ball and a strike.
Tell you what, when he finally does throw the fastball, it looks pretty quick.
Thon has 2 hits and 3 tries as a pinch hitter this year. An RBI. 1 ball and 2 strikes. No challenge there except for Pena. Downing led off the 8th with a single, then Palmer hit a 2-run homer. That made it 4-1. That's where it stands at the moment. Gonzalez walked. He went to second on a base hit by Franco.
And the Red Sox have a right-hander up in their bullpen.
And it's 3 balls and 2 strikes.
Oh, boy. It's Greg Harris.
Yep.
He's not exactly heating up quickly, is he?
No, he's not anticipating.
Looks like he's dozed off.
Full count. Runners will be off with the pitch. When there is a pitch.
That's that move we've grown to dislike, Greg. That I'm not ready to throw it yet move.
Still not ready. Ball 4. Almost threw a wild pitch. Well, the bases are loaded, and all we did was the Rangers maneuvered to get the bases loaded for Al Newman.
Second baseman,
which might make some chuckle.
The first 7.5 innings of this game took 1 hour and 59 minutes. And this inning has now taken 26 minutes. This half inning has taken 26 minutes.
By the way, with that base hit, an official celebration for Dickie Thon. Today's his birthday. He's 34.
All right.
Happy birthday, Dickie. With his walk. Did I say base hit? With that walk. The reaching base.
Got a question for you. Here's Al Newman, who switch hits. And in the bullpen is Greg Harris, who can switch pitch.
Yes.
We could have a really long half inning here if they'd call Harris in.
1 ball and no strikes.
Oh, man.
That's never happened, but I think I did read an interpretation. The interpretation of that is that the umpire would require, well, the umpire would basically say you can't keep switching back and forth, and I believe he would, the way something reminds me that he would make the pitcher stay on one side, saying until you get a batter out, that's what you are.
Harris can throw left-handed, can throw in the low 80s, the pitcher warming up. He's never tried it in a game. There have been people who pitched left and right in the same game in the major leagues. Irish Tony Mullane used to do that back in the late 1800s. A very, very good pitcher.
2 balls and no strikes. Got one over there. 2 balls and a strike.
Are you sure?
I'm only reporting what is officially put up. It is not mine to umpire. Short fly ball. And that's it. So the Rangers leave them loaded, but score 2 on a 2-run homer by Palmer, and going to the 9th, it's 4-1 Rangers. Here's our Sherwin-Williams play of the game. It isn't one that's going to show up in the box score, because here's what happened. Brunansky on a 3-0 pitch popped it up. This came in the 7th inning. 2 runners on and a 3-0 count. Rangers only led 2-0 at the time. Now it's 4-1. But that was our Sherwin-Williams play of the game. Wasn't a terrible pitch to swing at, but could have been a ball. Anytime you swing at a ball when you got a 3-0 count and trail, that's tough. Well, here's our new left fielder, and we mean new. I mean, like, this is the 2nd time he's gone out to left field. Dickie Thon at shortstop, Franco the man I'm referring to, and McGinnis catching yet a new arm, Rogers.
And Kenny's not going all that well of late. It's not so much his runs that are scoring as other people's runs. Last night, for instance, he comes into the game and needs to get out the left-hand hitter, and boom, Boggs gets a base hit on him to worsen the situation in the 8th inning. Kenny's numbers, just his personal numbers, aren't all that bad over the last couple of weeks. But if you've watched him pitch, he's struggling a little bit. For instance, one of the runs he just happens to give up, Greg, over the last couple of weeks, is a grand slam home run to McGuire, with another pitcher's runners filling the bases.
Jeff Russell is ready to finish it up if necessary. 1 ball and a strike. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Of course, now he comes in to get left-handed hitters out, and who's he got to face 2 nights in a row? Wade Boggs. not easy.
Well, that's about the same thing as bringing in a lefty to pitch to Palmeiro, isn't it? I mean, maybe your percentages are slightly better, but the guy's a good hitter, period, lefty or righty throwing to him.
Still got to make the pitches. 1 ball and 2 strikes. He just about made that one. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Red Sox also have a lefty scheduled number 3 in this inning, Greenwell.
Base hit, right side. Wade Boggs back on track. That's 3 hits tonight.
That tendency again to come in and give up the base hit right away by Rogers.
Designated hitter Bob Zupsik.
Bob Zupsik is the hitter. He actually comes in at the designated hitter's position.
By the way, Greg, that number we gave you on inherited runners, Kenny Rogers has come into the game with 19 men on base this year, and he's allowed 14 of them eventually to score. That's a horrible record for a reliever.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if 30% is about average. I think I saw that somewhere. I'm about to look it up, but I think it was around 30.
Now,
yeah, Major League percentage of left runners scored off, yeah, 33%. Last year was the average. So you can see how much of that's twice.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Now, Kenny's personal numbers, Kenny himself, hey, a 3.31 earned run average in 32 games. Kenny's doing pretty well. His own personal numbers, but a lot of those runners that he came in to try to soften scoring have scored.
1 ball and 2 strikes to Zupsik.
Zupsik, one of 3 Red Sox rookies on this team, started last night, had a double, and that was part of the only Boston scoring inning of the night against Bobby Witt.
Attended Oral Roberts University, so our fans up in Tulsa, a lot of the folks there may know Bob. Played there for 3 years. 1 ball and 2 strikes. He was then a special pick between the first and second rounds as compensation for the Red Sox not being able to sign their first round pick in '86. Potential footballer at Penn State because he's from Pennsylvania. There's a drive hit hard. Franco makes the play. And I'll tell you what, that's you don't get many tougher plays to have to start out on than a line drive at you.
But Kenny certainly didn't fool Bob Zupsik, who hit 300 foot of rope to left field.
Left fielder Mike Greenwell.
Here's Greenwell. Mike Greenwell has a hit in 3 at-bats. Double play ground out in the 4th, 6-4-3. Rangers could close out the ball game if you duplicate that one. Even though it is only 10:40, which is relatively early, this is the absolute flat-out last game of the day. No balls and 2 strikes. Greenwell was a subject of a lot of trade rumors during the offseason. Just 4 days ago, he had a right elbow arthrogram. He had surgery in the offseason. Can't straighten that right elbow without pain, and as Norm pointed out, that arthrogram showed that they might have to do some more surgery.
Yeah, but Greenwell's going to try to get through the season before he has the elbow repaired, because the doctors told him if they operated now, it would be 2 months before he'd be back.
Career .311 batting average. Hit 300 last season, so he's just having a down year.
Boy, nice piece of hitting by Greenwell, because Kenny Rogers made a really good pitch there.
1 ball and 2 strikes. Bobby Valentine hoping his guys can hold on, take the victory. They would join Minnesota, both 3 games behind Oakland. 2 down.
Now, does Valentine let Rogers get the save and go after Burks? Or does he bring Russell to close?
He's looking down that way, checking the dugout, not coming out though. Nicky figures Burks is not the tying run. If he gets on base, he's got another right-handed batter coming out, and that's when he makes the change. Burks has struck out 3 times, so for one thing, he is absolutely delighted not to see Kevin Brown. 2 balls and no strikes. Brown's strikeouts 9, by the way, equaled the club high this year, and it set a new personal high for Kevin Brown. No walks. 2 balls and no strikes. High fly ball. Franco drifts back to the track, got plenty of room. That's it. Rangers win it. The final score, the Texas Rangers 4 and the Boston Red Sox 1. Rangers now move back within 3 games of the top spot in the West, the same distance that Minnesota is behind the Oakland A's. We'll be back to recap this one in just a moment. Rangers win it tonight 4-1 to win both games. The first 2 games of this 3-game set by the same final 4-1. Guests who appear on Ranger post-game shows receive dinner for 2 at the Olive Garden Italian restaurant, featuring those famous Olive Garden breadsticks, an endless bowl of salad, and fresh homemade pasta. Stay tuned. Coming up next, a post-game report. We'll recap this game and also take a look at all the scores in baseball. It's coming up next on HSE. The senior producer of HSE and director of tonight's game is Robert Steinfeld. Texas Rangers Baseball is produced by David Handler. Technical director Gordon Powell. Associate producers Kurt Dykert, Kathy Eltz, and Greg Mayuro. Engineer in charge Mike Landrigan. Statistician Tom Sobley. And remote facilities provided by John Crow Production. Stadium, you've been watching Texas Rangers baseball on HSE. Tonight's telecast has been brought to you by Bud Dry. It's dry brewed to drink light, yet satisfy completely. Why ask why? It's Bud Dry. By Sherwin-Williams. There's only one paint this good, and there's only one place where you can get it. The pros know. Ask Sherwin-Williams. By High Performance Citgo Gasoline, available at your participating neighborhood 7-Eleven. Oh, thank heaven for 7-Eleven. By Advil for headaches, muscle aches, fever, backache. Advil, advanced medicine for pain. And by Southwest Airlines, offering everyday low fares and convenient flights to many exciting destinations. Southwest Airlines, just plain smart.
Sunday, June 21st is Coca-Cola Minyards Wristwatch Night at Arlington Stadium. The Rangers are hosting the Boston Red Sox, and the first 30,000 fans with a paid admission will receive a Texas Rangers wristwatch, compliments of Coca-Cola and Minyards. Get your tickets at any Rainbow Ticketmaster outlet or at the Rangers ticket office at Arlington Stadium. For ticket information, call 817-273-5100. That's Sunday, June 21st. The Rangers play the Red Sox on Coca-Cola Minyards Wristwatch Night.
This is the Rangers post-game report. A recap of today's game with stats, highlights, and scores from around the leagues. Now back to Arlington Stadium for a wrap-up of today's game.
Well, Texas wins it 4-1, the second night in a row, that final score. And, you know, we can't take it for granted because for years it has been something that Ranger fans hoped for but didn't get. And that's pitching that would provide a guy like Kevin Brown now 10 victories, 2 4-1 games in a row. You can say all you want about some of the guys not hitting the ball, but the bottom line is W's, and the Rangers are just 3 games out of first.
Well, you keep coming back to that one if. if Rodriguez gets well, if Franco gets well, if Sierra gets well, the pitching here is plenty good enough to win the West right now.
Now, Bobby Valentine would say, I told you so, because as you recall in spring training, he was more confident about his pitching top to bottom than most other people were, and so far, he's up to this point, he's been proven correct.
But the Rangers faced a team tonight that was in just as much more offensive misery than they are these days. Boston really struggling, not hitting in key situations, and also some strange managing in the 8th inning where they were going to commit their whole bullpen, but they decided to leave a very tired starter in to pitch to Dean Palmer, and kaboom, the game blew up in their face.
Then they committed the bullpen.
Yeah.
Well, that's just one of the unusual things you see in baseball. Don't forget, we'll have more tomorrow. We also saw some great plays. How about our Long John Silver's catch of the game, brought to you by America's favorite place to go fish? John Cangelosi, backhand by Wade Boggs. Yes, he does have a bat, but he can play on the other side of the field as well. Wade Boggs with our Long John Silver's catch of the game. Stay tuned because we'll look at all the scores. Norm will get it started when we return.
Rangers get a well-pitched game here at the stadium, a 4-1 win over the Boston Red Sox, and a lot of well-pitched games in the National League. Giants get 3 runs in the bottom of the second, and Bud Black makes them stand up. He's 4-1 now. Corey Snyder, who's been red hot, drives in 2 of the 3. The Giants snapped their 7-game losing streak at the expense of 8-game winner Craig Lefferts. 24,000. See the Giants beat the Pods 3-1. This Astro game was scoreless to the bottom of the 9th when Eric Anthony bats in the only run of the game. The win goes to Jones, the starter. He's 4-4. The loss goes to Hershiser. He's 6-5. 19,000 see the Astros drive the Dodgers 2 full games into the cellar, 1-0. In Pittsburgh, it was 4-3 after 2, and that's how it finished, as Gardner, with help from Wetland, beat the Pirates and Zane Smith. 31,000 see the Buccos lose their 3rd straight at home to the Expos. Jay Bell's 3rd homer of the year in the first, the only home run of the game. In Philadelphia, red-hot lefty Terry Mulholland sticks it to the Cubs, a 3-hitter to go to 7-4 in the season. The wild thing, Mitch Williams with the save. 4-1 Philadelphia, the only Cubby run, Ryan Sandberg's 10th home run of the season. In Atlanta, another extraordinarily well-pitched game as Avery Best Browning 2-1. The Braves have won 9 of 10. 44,000 see the Braves chop up the Reds 2-1. And finally, in New York, 30,000 see the Mets lose for the 16th time in 22 games. Anthony Young driven from the mound by the Cardinals. He falls to 2-6. Eddie Murray's 8th homer of the year, the only Mets run. They get only 5 hits as Bob Tewksbury goes to 7-2. Greg's back with the American League scores next.
On the American League scoreboard, this first game was a big one. It was California 10, Oakland nothing. The first game on the scoreboard, because with Oakland's defeat and the Rangers win, the Rangers now just 3 games off the pace. Valera had a 4-hitter, retired 22 in a row. He's 4-5. Welch, the losing pitcher, 3-4. New York and Baltimore played before 45,719, and it was New York winning in Baltimore 9-5. Sanderson evening his record at 5-5. Sutcliffe 9-5. The big story was Mel Hall. He hit his 8th homer in the 8th. He also was 4-for-4 in that ball game and drove in 3. Chicago beat Detroit 3-1. McCaskill 4-6 the victory. Thigpen his 15th save. Groom, the losing pitcher, 0-1. Karkovice hit his 4th home run in the 5th for the White Sox. Cleveland and Milwaukee had a 4-1 game, as the story here at Arlington Stadium. Milwaukee winning this time with Bosio going 5-4. Henry picking up his 11th save. Boucher, the losing pitcher, now 2-2. Molitor hit his 10th home run of the game, the only homer. Also in the American League, Minnesota kept pace with the Rangers. Both teams now 3 games behind Oakland. Minnesota beat Seattle 5-3. Kruger getting his victory, number 7. He's 7-1. Aguilera his 19th save. And DeLucia was the losing pitcher, now 2-4. Several home runs in this one. Valley and Cochran and Briley all homered for Seattle. Leas and Munoz homered for Minnesota. One other game saw Guzman go 9-1. This is Juan Guzman of Toronto as he beat Magnanti down 3-6. Toronto over Kansas City 6-1 before 29,000. No home runs in that game. Here at Arlington Stadium, Texas was a winner by a score of 4-1, 4-7-1 with 7 left on base. Boston 1-6-0, 5 left. Brown the winner, 10-4. Dopson the loser. Rogers picking up his 4th save, and the only home run, Dean Palmer's 12. Join us tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. We've got more baseball, the finale of this series between the Rangers and Red Sox. Until then, Sports Talk at 6:30. For Norm Hitzges, this is Greg Lucas saying good night from Arlington Stadium. This has been an exclusive presentation of Home Sports Entertainment.
Been watching the Rangers post-game report, a recap of today's game with stats, highlights, and scores from around the leagues.